These are Sundry questions by Ibne Hyyan. Um, do you know when this earth came into being?
Only Allah knows that.
Then Jabir said, the Jews say that it was created 4,762 years ago. Their prophets must have given that information to them.
Their prophets did not say that. It was written by the reporters of the traditions. When a learned man observes mountains, plains, valleys, rivers, and the oceans, he comes to realize that the world is much older than that.
Then Jabir asked, can you estimate the age of the earth?
I cannot give an estimate. The Indians are of an opinion that it came into being 20,000 years ago. The Chinese think that it is 100,000 years ago. There is an edifice in Egypt which is, according to the Egyptians, about 6,000 years old. If we believe the Jews, then this building was constructed about 1,300 years before the earth came into being. When will this universe come to an end?
Imam salam replied, the universe will never come to an end. The things which have come into being will never cease to exist. They may change their form.
Will a day come, as some people say, when the sun and the moon will become dead and dark?
The time may come when the sun becomes dead and dark. At that time the moon, which reflects the light of the sun, will also lose its light. It would not be the end, but the beginning of a new era of the world. Is it possible that the sun may not appear and we may have to face an endless night?
No, it is not possible. Allah manages the affair of the universe by some unchanging laws. According to these laws, the sun must rise every morning. When the sun gets dead and dark, it would also be according to the fixed laws of Allah. When would the sun become dead and dark?
Imam Jaffer Sadiq salam replied, only Allah knows, but I am sure that it would be after a very long time.
What would be the fate of the people who are greedy? Would they go to paradise?
Imam Jaffer Sadiq salam replied, it is imperative that everyone should work to live a decent and respectable life and support his family. Good people work hard to procure the necessities of life. They are engaged everywhere in agriculture, animal husbandry, gardening, construction, work in production of different things, which satisfy the needs of the people.
If there is a call for jihad, they leave their work, go to the war, and fight and die for the noble cause. If they save something out of their hard earnings for their old age and for their wives and children, so that they may not be starved after their death, they cannot be called greedy or miserly. They would be rewarded by Allah. They would go to paradise if they do not commit sins and deserve to be punished.
The greedy persons are those who gathered big fortunes in a short time without hard work, and in most cases by illegitimate means. They become greedy and want to have more and more. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has condemned such persons in His holy book in the following words: those who collect money and count it, their greatest pleasure and enjoyment in life is nothing but hoarding money, silver and gold, and acquiring big chunks of land.
They cannot give away anything out of their wealth for the needy and the poor. They think that the poor people deserve to live in poverty, penury, and want. They say if Allah does not want someone to be prosperous, he must remain a poor and pauper. They are so attached to their wealth that they do not fight in the holy wars in fear of being killed and losing their possession. Their faith in the other world would be what has been described in the Holy Quran. Allah will never pardon a niggardly person who has amassed wealth by illegitimate means, even if he gives all of it in charity.
Then Jabir asked, how did the people learn about the attributes of Allah before Islam?
Please name the attributes of Allah discovered by the people before Islam.
Jabir said monotheists had discovered before Islam that Allah was not born, He has no body, He has no partner, He cannot be seen, He has no fixed place, His attributes are not separate from Him, and He is all-knowing and omnipotent.
I believe in only those attributes of Allah which are mentioned and described in the Quran and nothing else.
Jabir asked, will you not use your brain to discover the attributes of Allah?
My brain is the brain of a human being. I cannot discover and understand by myself the qualities of Allah. Those who tried to do so and describe the attributes of Allah before Islam made a guess and said that some of His qualities are positive and some are negative. Could you please elucidate this point?
Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam replied, the people who tried to find out the attributes of Allah before Islam started with the assumption that their God should have what they did not have and that he should be able to do what they could not do. Since they could not fly in the air like birds or swim in the water like fish, they believed that their God would be able to fly in the air and live in the water. They took them as positive attributes of God.
Since they could not live without having a place, they believed that their God would be able to live without a place. They took it as a negative attribute of God. That is why I do not believe in any attribute of Allah which is not mentioned in the Quran. I repeat that the human brain is not capable of finding out and understanding the attributes of Allah. It means that whatever has been said about the attributes of God before Islam is wrong?
Imam alayhi salam replied, yes, every attribute which has not been confirmed by the Quran is wrong.
Is it not our brain and our intelligence which has guided us to discover and accept the existence of Allah? Why can the same human brain and intelligence not discover the qualities and attributes of Allah?
Imam alayhi salam asked, do you have a pet lamb?
Yes, I have.
Then Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam said, since you have brought it up, it knows you, comes to you when you call it, and eats from your hand. But does the lamb, which knows you quite well, also knows what you are? Is it possible for that animal to know what are your likes and your dislikes? It has enough intelligence to know you, but by the same intelligence it cannot know what your qualities and your attributes are.
Your pet animal does not know when you were born and what is your age. It does not know when the house you live in was built, what material was used in its construction, and how long it would last.
Just like the lamb, we know our Allah and obey his commands, but we do not know what he is, why he created the universe, when he created it, and how long the universe would last.
With our limited human knowledge, we know Allah and worship him, but we know nothing more about him than what he himself has said about him in his holy book, the Holy Quran. But there is a difference between me and my lamb. I am curious to know about my Allah, but the lamb is not keen to know about me.
Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam replied, how do you know that your lamb is not inquisitive? It might be curious to know more about you, but the animal instinct and intelligence are so limited that it cannot know anything about you, learn your language and talk to you. It can understand only a few words. That is why you use the words it knows when you call it. As a matter of fact, you speak to it in the language of the lamb. It would not understand if you talk to it in your language.
O Jabir, do not think that Allah has sent the Quran in Arabic because he speaks the Arabic language. Allah is absolute power, knowledge, and wisdom. He knows all the languages, but he does not need the help of any language to convey his commands. It is we who need the help of words to convey our thoughts to others and communicate with them. The Quran was sent by Allah in Arabic language because our Prophet ﷺ was an Arab and lived among Arabic-speaking people. Just as you speak to your lamb in its language, Allah sent the Quran in the language of the Arabs so that they might know what he wanted. If he had spoken to them in some other language, they would not have understood a word of his.
Jabir said, I understand what you say, but it does not solve my problem. I wonder why Allah did not give us intelligence in us, so that we could have discovered his qualities and attributes ourselves, learnt more about him, and not remained like a pet lamb.